Hello everybody, welcome to the Martial Arts of Sales. I hope everyone's having a great day. This is part 2 of a 3-part series and why having a script, an effective script, is a very important tool to the sales process. Now what's happening is this, I have some feedback yesterday on part number 1 and somebody brought out an interesting point. Do you believe that a script is for more beginners or people that just have a crutch and don't know how to sell? Well, I'm going to answer that question this way. A script is very important because it gives you a tool and a path so that you could develop your art of storytelling. Now, once you sell a product, let's say for 2 or 3 years, you should know the product and how to pitch it without looking at a script, right? But the script has to be built inside of you. In other words, it has to become you. It has to be able to create your style, who you are, how you sell. That's the importance of a script. Now, the bottom line is this, is if you're changing into other products and services like I do, I always use a script because there's different language, a different product, different services, different pricing, different objections and rebuttals, and a script allows you to accelerate that learning curve on that product. So I always use a script, no matter what, when I have a new product, a new service. Once I learn it and I say it enough times, it becomes part of me that I could take 5 bullet points on any product and then sell it within the strategy of the script. So the script helps you become who you are as a salesperson. So never dismiss that a script is not important. The only time I believe it's not important is if you're doing a retail sale like mechanics or a retail clothing store thing. Like, you may not need a script for that. But for online services, or if you're making phone calls, you absolutely need a script. So I just wanted to clear that up because there was an important point that was brought up yesterday. But I'm here to tell you that don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise, that you do not need a script. 30 years plus experience, I consider myself a phenomenal salesman. I could put myself there against anybody, but I always stick to the fundamentals. And a fundamental is learning and having of effective script. Now, part 2 is how to build the right script. There's 3 parts to it. I call it the opening of the script, the body of the script, and then the ending, or what I call the closing or the climax of the script. Before we get into the topic, let's go to the introduction. Hello everybody, welcome to the Martial Arts of Sales. As I mentioned in my opening monologue, a script is very important. You just got to know that it is, and more importantly, you have to know how to use it. Now, part 2 is building the right sales script. Okay? Before we dig into the topic, you know what to do. Hit the subscription button below. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up because it does help my algorithm. It also helps my ranking. And also, if you think this video can help others, please share the video with others. Now, there are 3 steps in building an effective sales script. I won't get into all the details, but I'm going to give you some meat and potatoes to chew on. Okay? Now, it's important that you understand what I call the opening of the sale or the opening of the script. That's part 1. Because the first 5 seconds are the most important seconds you're going to have. Whether you're cold calling on social media, on the Better Business Bureau, on LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. When you're doing the initial call, you don't have a lot of time to make an impression. And you also have to remember that the customers on the other line, or the prospect on the other line, has a powerful tool. They can either hang up the phone or they're going to do everything they can to get you off the phone. So you have to be prepared for that. Now, in the beginning of a call, I know 2 things for sure. Number 1 is they're going to be frustrated that I got them on the phone. Number 2 is they really don't want to hear what I have to say because they probably heard it from other people. So I got those 2 things against me. But I have a weapon that overcomes that in the first 3 to 5 seconds. And when you understand those weapons and you're more prepared, then you could take the conversation to a good path so that you can turn that prospect into a potential customer. So, as I always do, I always have my cheat sheet charts here. So, the first one is the first 20 seconds. Why is it so vital? I call it the opening. You have to remember that we all have a perception about when we first meet people. So the prospect is always going to have a perception about you from the get-go. And it's not always a good perception because they get tired of getting these calls, right? And it doesn't matter if you're on social media. People think that you can't make cold calls on social media. That's absolutely a myth. That's not true. I do it every single day and it works. So you got to have a strong perceived value. And in order to do that, you have to be ready with rebuttals to diffuse the objections you will receive in the beginning of the call. So one of the things that I always use is Mr. Customer. You get a lot of these calls? They usually say yes. I understand and respect that. Then I follow up, do you have any idea what's going on in your industry? Now I took them in the path that I diffused and understood that they get these calls. Now I hit a hot button that there's something going on in his industry that he may not know about that I do. That's a curiosity question. So at that point, you have a stronger perceived value. Does that make sense? So the opening of the script has to be very effective and strong. Why? Because number 2 is what I call the body. This is where the script molds your ability to tell a story. What do I mean by that? By the time you go from the opening and you transition to the body, hopefully you have increased your value, right? Now, how do you continue to increase that value? It's going to be a lot of parts to the body. You know, they're going to give you objections. You got to know how to handle it with the right rebuttals. They're going to ask you questions about you, what kind of experience you have. You got to know their industry, ask them questions about their business. You have to talk about numbers. You have to show and expose that they have a problem and that you have the solution. A script builds that. Or the right script shall allow you to build a good storytelling. That's why it's called the body. It's the storytelling. The movie producers use it the same way. You got the opening of the movie. If they don't engage you in the opening of the movie, you're not going to stay for the middle of the movie, right? So it's important that you understand that the opening is important, that your perceived value is strong, so that when you go to the body, you are increasing your value. And when you increase your value, now you're going to turn that prospect into a customer. That's what a script does. And to build that script, you got to have those ingredients in the body where you have discovery questions, you have path of least resistance questions, you have tie-down questions, you got leading questions, follow-up questions. You do a lot of listening, you write down, and then you read back to the customer what they convey to you to let them know that you're on their page, you understand. And also a script is about making it about the customer, not about you. But even though they have to buy you first before they buy your product or services. Does that make sense? When you do that, and I mentioned this before, about 90% of the deals happen within the body of the script. Or it goes the other way. If you don't do it right in the body, chances are you're not going to convert that prospect into a customer, and you're going to be chasing them quite often to try to get a sale because you believe you've earned it. Now, number 3 is what I call the close or the conversion. To me, the close usually happens in the opening of the call because that's where you earn a lot of respect and trust from the beginning. Does that make sense? But what you do is you get the order. Basically, it solidifies your value. It solidifies the relationship. It's the beginning of hopefully a profitable, successful relationship. This is where they believe that you are the person for them. This is where they believe that you have the solutions to their problem. This is where they take ownership, not only of you as a relationship, but as the product and services that you're offering them. Because if the product doesn't work, they believe you failed them. Does that make sense? So a script is very, very important. It's a vital tool to developing you as a salesman, as a storyteller. So don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise. Now, again, I must reiterate. There are times where you won't need a script. When you learn the product, you learn the industry, you learn how customers work, and it's the same product you're selling over and over again, yeah, at a certain point you won't need the script. Why? Because the script is built in you, meaning it's you. You are the script. But the script got you there. Don't lose sight of that. And when you learn a new product or you're going into a new industry, you're going to need to know how to build an effective script. Because the process, the principles do not change. The only thing that changes is the language and the product that you're selling. But if you understand the mindset and building the right effective script, you can sell any product with that script. It's the only thing, again, that changes is the language and the product. Does that make sense? So this is part 2, building the right script. You have the opening, you have the body of the script, and you have the ending, or what I call the closing of the script. I want to thank you for your time. I hope this has been helpful. Till we speak again, I say goodbye. This is Paul Cruz with the Martial Art to Sales. Have a very successful day. Bye for now.